Welcome to the Strategic Pursuit Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Macias, and today we have Jeremy. Jeremy is a co-founder of a engineering firm in the middle market. Jeremy, is great to have you here. Welcome.
Brandon, thanks a lot.
Jeremy, let's dive right in. Let's talk a little bit about leadership. I want to get your perspective on leadership and growth that you've been through in the industry, having leadership always in the back of your mind.
I think one important point is that historically leadership's been more focused on the owner and not on the recipient. And it's created some controversy in this new world where it's really important to kind of meet the end user's expectations rather than just deliver a product. What I mean by that is historically, I grew up with a very militaristic leadership where you just did what you were told, versus now you're really trying to listen. And that creates its own difficulties because I find there's several types of people. You've got your type A, your type B, and type C personalities, and your leadership has to be strategically diverse to meet everyone's expectations and get what they're looking for. It's difficult without the generational advance from that you can kind of pick up from. My old boss was militaristic. I'm trying to figure out how not to do it. I don't have that historic experience. But anyways, so yes, it's important. And I guess with leadership, I think the biggest thing I've always looked at is in advance of just kind of meeting people's expectations for what leadership is. It's also been through my own experience, having worked with a lot of great leaders and seen how they do things, what they do right, what they do wrong. And I mean, it's always great to have people that do the right thing and emulate that, but it's also comically good as well to have bad leaderships because you see what a bad leadership does and the really puts an emphasis on the necessity for good leadership.
Did you mention that you grew up with that militant, leadership guiding you? Let's say, for example, your parents or one of your jobs. Was that really something that you thought was the way leadership looked like? Because I mean, for me, I grew up with a lot of hardcore militant type leadership within, my first couple employers. And I was under the assumption that's how things were. Tell me about your experience.
Yeah, the same, whether it be from my upbringing as a child with my parents, they were very militaristic, and all my earlier jobs, same style. So you do what you're told, you don't ask questions, and you're always feeling like, oh, you're just a day away from being fired if you want to deviate from those expectations.
Mhm. Yeah. Now, going through what you've been through and this stage of the business, the way that you think about leadership now, has it completely changed?
Oh, completely changed. There's no connection between the past and the future for me in leadership styles. And in addition to trying to develop my own skills, I've also brought in other people, finding that, with multiple leaders, they can speak in different terms to get that message across to each individual in the way they need to hear it. So there's both my business partner and myself. We've got a business consultant that kind of helps smooth out those edges as well as a general manager. But again, smooths out the edges, trying to meet everybody's understanding of what the message truly is.
That goes to show having the right people on your team that have that leadership, I guess, aspect to them, that character to them, because it doesn't have to be militant, but it's a certain characteristic. Either you learn from it or either it comes out naturally. So, I mean, that really goes to show when you have the right people, the right team up there that's able to lead everybody else on the crew, that's very important. What do you think about finding that person, or is that something that you're looking to just teach?
I find it something, it feels almost like you're born with it. You have it or you don't. It's almost easier to teach them the technical skills than it is to teach the leadership skills. You've got people that are great at their job, very technically brilliant, but they just can't take that next step. And almost someone less technically qualified will take that step above them because of their ability to have those leadership skills. It's unfortunate. I think, the militaristic was always easy because I think you can take anybody with technical proficiency and put them in a militaristic leadership style. And within the range of militaristic leadership styles, be very successful. But as soon as you deviate from that world, it's problematic and it's not the way things are going. There's no longer that ability to just tell people to do exactly what you want. and punish them for not doing that and still expect your people to stay with you and be successful.
Yeah. Old school versus new school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel like a lot of people are preferring this new school method. Although, a little bit of old school sometimes, throw it in here and there. I think it doesn't hurt in my opinion. Now, um, as far as looking for that person that had, that character to lead, give me some of those attributes that you look for when you've either looked for someone or maybe you are looking for someone.
Great question. I don't think there's an easy answer to that. I mean, it's really just a matter of having in an interview where we're looking for those leaders to find the people and have conversations, but it's not just a one-on-one conversation. It involves, different facets, different people. Because I might connect with you and your leadership style, but then I'll bring someone else in, say my business partner, and he might not connecting you. So you've also got every interview has got to have multiple facets of questioning to really see what's going on there. And as well as just open dialogue. There's some good questions that are kind of slowly becoming available through just common knowledge through these Google type searches to know how to ask strategically to get the answers. It's almost like trick questions, though. It's no longer, what's one plus one. It's you really got to figure out a way to ask a question indirectly, getting them to expose that. Because everybody nowadays, also through the internet, has the tricks to answer those common questions to seem like a leader when they're not truly there. So it's all teasing it out in those little bits. But it's been an ongoing difficulty for us. We've had some great people with us that have kind of met that, but we also some people just really struggle. Some people are too militaristic. Some people are too on the feeling side. It's that really necessary soft spot that you're striking gold when you find a good leader these days.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. There's a big shortage of labor coming, right? If you start looking it up and, start reading about how that's going to look like in the next few years, it's going to be big. So, I mean, that's going to be extremely important as an entrepreneur or anybody currently looking to become an entrepreneur. Employee retention and finding the right one is going to be key.
Because we hear stories of how there's an influx of people looking for work, but at the same time, from a management perspective, it's very difficult to find qualified people from both the technical and non-technical perspective. And when you find them, like I said, you've struck gold and you've got that retention concern. You really got to focus on that. And that's where the leadership comes in as such a big importance. You have to find the leadership that works with them. Because if you're not, I mean, you hear stories, people leaving jobs, not because of the work, not because of the money, but because the leadership's not there.
Hmm. No, absolutely. It just makes me think of how many, senior workers in the construction industry that you come across, right? But you don't see a lot of young people. The youth isn't as interested in it, it seems, right? So it really makes you wonder on who's going to fill those voids when the guys actually, put the tools down and call it quits. It's going to be a big issue. I strongly believe that.
It's interesting, a little bit off topic, but you talk about the leaders that you look up to now. A lot of them were small children being dragged to work by their dad at 13, 14, violating certain labor laws, I'm sure, but that got them from a very young age this knowledge base of what construction was and a real fundamental understanding of it. You've got guys that were 11 years old when they first started using a backhoe. Nowadays, it's a far cry from that. And I understand how important it is, but at the same time, when it comes to you later on in life, you just miss that. It doesn't integrate into your being as much.
It's a whole different class of people back in the days that you're really not going to find now. Kind of the one topic that it just gets brought up again and again, and for a good reason, right? Because everybody uses it is AI, right? AI or social media or, like what we're doing right now, right? Getting kind of that awareness out that there's going to be a big void that needs to get filled, right? People need to go into trades. They need to really fill those spots that are going to be in dire need, right? For the industry. It's the only way that things grow. So, I mean, AI is another one. This kind of leads back to finding the right employees checklists, right? Going on AI and seeing information is plenty now. I mean, going on there and seeing or getting AI to create a checklist for you on those characteristics or personality types that you're looking for to fill in a key role. I feel like that's something that might be helpful. What do you think?
Yeah, it's brilliant, actually. I mean, just as you're saying it, my mind's being blown by the concept of, yeah, you go into AI, say, I'm looking for this type of person, this and this and this. And can you help me structure some questions that kind of both get that directly and indirectly and how to cross reference it? The customization of these interview questions with AI could just be earth shattering.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Ray Dalio, I believe. He was one that pre AI, pre all this technology, was already kind of implementing these softwares on how his key employees, what characteristics they had. He was building these checklists. We're seeing similarities in all of these employees. And now when he would go and hire or look for new employees, he was referencing back, check, check, check. Okay, let's move on to the next step, right? So, I mean, kind of the same idea with AI is you can give it that prompt, right? Like Ray Dalio, input this characteristic, etc. Now, let's create that checklist. It's insane how it's moving and how quick it's moving.
It used to be, you'd lose things slowly over generations, but now you're watching different industries fall apart one after another in short time frames. I mean, as you're kind of looking to what to do with your future, you've got to always now be evaluating, is this going to be an actual profession in 5 years? You've seen now they've got stuff like, I just saw the other day a TikTok about it where it's showing this truck that pulls up to a job site and it's dropping brick and laying mortar automatically. I mean, who knows? Maybe that fails, maybe that succeeds, but I mean, just that concept alone could kill half the world of masons.
Yes. It's really a question you ought to ask yourself, right?
So I used to do a lot of building designs and we did a lot of work in New York. And now going back, well, why would you pay someone in Ontario to design something for New York when you could quite easily go overseas, do that? And I mean, there's like the AI communication software that simplifies that. You've got AI simplification of that, where there's even, I think I saw from the other day where it's showing you can just build an architectural model. And at the same time, you're building an architectural model, the AI is creating the structure to go with it. So, I mean, design itself went from being a local to being overseas to now being potentially drastically minimized, even canceled out with AI. And that's a huge industry, the design world. It's almost funny as fast as, it was gone overseas. Now it could possibly go right back into AI. The overseas companies that were doing it never even got the chance to succeed from that.
Very interesting. There's one other company that I came across as well, and I mean, similar. They We were talking about backhoes. They're now implementing, an AI, a large language model that now learns from the operator for a few months, right? With cameras, sensors, all this stuff. And let's say after 3, 4 months, I could be wrong. It may take longer than that, but eventually now this AI is programmed completely into your backhoe or excavator. And that operator now is just monitoring. This is 24/7 at this point. That backhoe, that excavator can go 24/7. And it doesn't have to be a new one, right? They're implementing this into your 2017 cap. It is wild. It is wild what how they're advancing.
Yeah, I mean, even that, like you look at just putting the robots, they've got quasi in production in the cab of an excavator or a crane. Forget even modifying those, but just putting this entity inside there, that would be the first generation of removing it. After that, they'll just go straight on to having AI implemented into the systems by wire rather than the old manual cranks that exist now that they've got interface with. it's
Uh,
amazing. Like you can't think of anything. I mean, well, so I'm in forensics, and it's great because I'm going into these unsafe buildings, and it's a little bit more complex for AI to kind of trick its way through that. And so I'm grateful for that. I left the design world in part because I could see that it's leaving the country the same way so many other industries have. And I'm not sure what my kids are best suited to A, learn in school and B, take in school. I mean, do you want a kid learning music if music can be now roboticized? Or what's the point of even learning how to read sheet music if you can kind of just start waving your hands and AI understands what you're trying to get at and create a tune from that?
yeah, no, absolutely. My niece was talking to me a few weeks ago. She's going to be finishing high school, but she was telling me that she wants to go and, read scans for ultrasounds. And I was like, no, my mind instantly went to AI, right? It's inevitably going to take that over, right? I mean, as a human now, in my mind, okay, maybe you can fact check what it's already reading, but that's very small part of what we're doing right now, right? Pre-AI, yes, it is necessary for a human to read that, but I mean, now, implementing something like that, I don't think we're far from that at all.
The neat thing is, like you've heard the story where basically we're fast approaching a point in time in life where there will be all these different things, like like we kind of like you're reading the X-rays. We do a lot of ground penetrating radar, and to read the screen of a ground penetrating radar is very complex. It takes years of experience to really understand what you're looking at. But if you put AI in that and it sees a screen, gets told what it's looking at, it can take that image and then just crisp it up so that any untrained 3-year-old can pick up a ground penetrating radar and get a clear, exact understanding of what they're looking at.
Imagination and creativity is going to be few and far between. I mean, the original ideas, like you said, they are going to be gone. When you really have to get creative and have your imagination take over anything new that you kind of want to implement. Jeremy, I want to kind of segue into growing the business. And I know this will tie in together nicely because obviously, with the new technology and with AI, how important and what steps are you kind of taking right now, or maybe plan to take to continue with, an upward trajectory in the business?
I think I've always been focused on the organic growth. I think you can always do forced growth through mergers and acquisitions and other forcible means. We've just found, listen, you put together a good product, you stay responsive, you recognize what you're producing. You're trying to help someone else's life out, not trying to make yourself money in the work you do. People come in and you just gotta keep your eyes open for those new opportunities. And when they do, advance them. And the follow up, I think a lot of um, development in an organic methodology comes from follow up of existing matters. You've got a great client. Okay, we'll reach out to them. What can you do to help them out better? Have those conversations. We've been doing that for a while now, and it seems to really be helpful. I think when we first started, we had a huge growth just with existing clientele. And I think once we kind of overcome that, there was a level of stagnation where we passed easy natural growth with organic growth and had to kind of be more focused in the marketing world. Where are we servicing? Where aren't we servicing? Who are we talking to? Who are we not talking to? As well as our companies got into a lot of analytics. And through the analytics, we've seen the areas where we can grow, who we should reach out to. And it's been really helpful focus because I think you can kind of throw effort out there, but if it's not targeted and not kind of strategized, it can just be wasteful. And at a certain size company, you can't have, you don't have that wealth of resource to spend on that diversity you're looking for without some form of strategy. It can just get lost. It's seeming like, people hanging out flyers to grow their business. If you just stick flyers on the light poles, how much are you getting in return for that money? I'm just really, and maybe you are, maybe you've got the perfect sales gimmick that works great. If you're dealing with a parking ticket, if someone pulls up to a light, you put the right part at the right traffic light, he's going to see that parking ticket, know he's got a parking ticket, he can connect to that. But if you're putting up a a flyer on a street post for a vacation destination on the way to work. That might just be the worst use of it. So just kind of seeing what to do and where to do it. And then kind of making that decision. Are you going to do the acquisitions? I'm not a big fan of the acquisitions. I've seen too many in the past that they, the acquisition happens and then there's a loss of talent. I think if you're going to go the acquisitions world, you've got to be a very good leader. You've got to really understand how to keep that talent. It's almost, I think, where the bigger businesses are able to do the acquisitions, whereas the small guys that don't have that wealth of infrastructure to support that are going to be not best utilized by using that methodology. So I think, you know, maybe we double in size, we can kind of get more to the acquisitions world. But I think at our current size, we just keep with the organic and just having focus on what we're growing. It'll be to our best advantage.
That's great. I mean, you touched on focusing and having everything almost building that foundation and really having it as solid as it can be before even thinking about the inorganic growth, right? Now, as far as technology goes and following other competitors, are you paying much attention to that right now? Or are you more focused on your business particularly and growing it within?
We're hypersensitive to what technology is, how it's changing. It's concerning that if you don't follow it, you can easily be just left alone, like just abandoned because you've not followed that. You know, certain technologies have come and kind of reinvented the industry. And if you're old school and the new school comes and say the new school can drastically reduce costs or drastically improve product, to no longer be able to be that or try to keep up with those guys is just impossible. So we've opted to kind of be what we call leaders in our industry, focused on what technology is out there, be looking 5, 10 years in advance into AI, into emerging different technologies that kind of suit us. And even just small things like conversations with people, hearing what they say, and then doing the follow-up research to see what that implies. Watching videos with my kids, there's always a little tidbit of information that's valuable. Watching a movie, I see something in technology and say, okay, that's in the 20-year range or the 50-year range. But as we go in that path, where are we today? And is it something we want to hop on? Because we can see in 50 years and it's going to change the landscape. But before we wait 50 years for it to be widespread and everybody's got it, can we hop on it and kind of help us get the leg up advantage?
that that entrepreneur mindset, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing, but you hear something and the mind just starts to go in different directions. And that's where creativity comes, right?
Yeah,
Creativity and innovation, man. That's honestly, I think that's what keeps the ball rolling. That's creative. And I feel like there's few people with that mindset. And the ones that have that mindset, they're always looking to climb.
because it's always like that entrepreneur, there's the engineer, there's the creative person, there's the obsessive compulsive person. It's funny, but I think they all share that vision of seeing something and making it better. You know, you see someone, I would say, like, all together here, we all look at making the world better, whether it be for ourselves or for our client. It's just we're all that the nature of us wants to make the world better.
I agree. It's automatic.
Yeah,
You're not forcing yourself to do it. It really is something that is built in certain people, right? And I love it because not only translates to work, but that also translates to personal life, right? You want to be better at one thing. Now you got to look at other aspects of life, your health, your family, all of those things, right? Growth mindset, it really trickles into all aspects of your life.
connects back to the whole looking for leaders. You also want that mindset because entrepreneurs kind of have a mixed message. Some of them are just creating their own business, but some of them are just kind of taking something and creating something out of it, you know? So we've got a lot of those guys in our office and we listen to them. We're not just setting our own mindset. I find that some people just discount other people's and they just focus on theirs. And if they're lucky and they're gifted enough, that's no problem. You get the Bill Gates, the Elon Musk of the world, they are brilliant and they've got the ability to kind of have an idea that they can see implement and it meets the expectation of the society. But I think so many people with that same put on the blinders and miss the target. So it's also great to not only be an entrepreneur yourself, but to surround yourself with that entrepreneurial spirit with the people you know and people you're friends with, people you work with.
Touching on the company's goals, your goals, the employees' goals, all of these goals in some way, shape, or form, they should align, right? That way, everybody's heading in that right direction. They all see a clear path to what will be success for the business, what will be success for them at the end of it, right? And making that clear and always reassuring, right? If we're headed in the right direction or maybe we're deviating, talking about it, right? I feel like that's definitely something that a lot of businesses maybe don't pay too much attention to, right? What do you think?
I think some people also get caught up with money. I mean, money's great. We all want it. That's kind of the point of many things in life. But I think if you kind of put that to the side for just a minute and kind of create something you're proud of that you believe in, I think that gets you success and even the money, even faster than just chasing the money.
Yeah, all good things come. All good things come.
I'll say.